Bodo Ellmers, Policy and Advocacy Manager at Eurodad. It's our pleasure to ask you 3 questions within the framework of tax justice and gender justice in the tax systems in the Arab region. The first one is, how important is it for the national, regional, and global organizations or activists to join their efforts in promoting the discourse on taxes from a human rights perspective?
Well, I would say, if we want to protect and realize human rights, we need a lot of public services. And to finance these public services, we need a lot of public revenue. And this revenue mainly comes from taxes. So one big problem we currently have is that, well, especially the rich and multinationals do not pay their fair share of taxes. So governments all over the world lose every year several hundred billions through tax dodging. And this is one problem we need to address. The main problem is actually that especially those factors, those economic factors that move across borders, like capital or the profits of transnational corporations, are really difficult to tax. So this is why I think international cooperation between us is so important to address these problems. We need truly global institutions to stop tax dodging, and we need a global movement to fight for these institutions. And I think this is the key reason why we all, activists from all countries, have to work together.
Amazing. And do you think the European experience is a success, and why is it or why it is not?
I think we made a lot of progress in Europe in recent years. At least we laid the groundwork for having a strong tax justice movement. So we built a strong coalition of NGOs, of trade unions, of academics, of social movements, and of course citizens behind all these groups who fight together for more tax justice. We also got lots of support from whistleblowers who worked for banks or consultancy companies that help corporations to dodge taxes, who gave us information. And we got information from journalists who helped us disseminate the information. So we basically have a lot of public awareness for these questions now in Europe. When it comes to the political process, I think it's still a long way to go. We made some progress when it comes to transparency issues, automatic exchange of tax information, country-by-country reporting, these issues. It's very technical things. But I'd say it's a long way to go. Especially what was very disappointing for us as Europeans is that our European governments blocked or even sabotaged processes at the United Nations to create an intergovernmental tax body, which we think is an institution that is really needed to tackle the problems we have. And we also think, we clearly think that European governments did not act in the interest of European citizens or European nations in this case, but they acted in the interest of a small group of financial sector and corporate lobbyists, basically, and we hope that this will soon going to change.
Okay, thank you. And could you please elaborate quickly about the main linkages between tax justice and public debt?
Well, I think there are many linkages, and they go actually both ways. So, of course, tax is the main component of public revenue. If countries do not manage to mobilize sufficient tax, they have to borrow from financial markets, borrow from official creditors, and, well, basically to fill the fiscal deficit. And if this continues over a number of years, it can lead to a situation where debt becomes unsustainable. And this leads to debt crises. And debt crises are basically, development disasters. So we see that the results of the debt crisis are usually impoverishment and, of course, much regression when it comes to human rights issues. So having a good tax system is really important to prevent that crisis and to prevent the need to borrow in the first place. On the other hand, we also see when we look at for what or on what governments are spending taxpayers' money, we see in many countries that an increasing share goes towards creditors, goes towards financing debt service. And this is, of course, not what taxpayers' money is there for. Of course, taxpayers can expect that their tax payments go to finance public services from which they profit. This is also important for them to have an incentive to pay taxes in the first place. So one thing, basically, for us to use public revenue really to finance public services and realize human rights is to address unsustainable debt problems in many countries which are heavily indebted. So I think it's not two sides of a coin, it's all one package. Building effective tax systems and debt cancellation for countries that need it, or building effective debt workout mechanism is one thing we all need to fight together.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Bodo. Thank you.
Thank you.